Hi there. Remember me? I'm the combat beverage operator with diagnosable trauma from corporate beverage operations. I'm Rick, and we are giving Ops Halo the 1 day treatment. Ops Halo is the company, and the smart suite of products is front and center. I spent my life on the edge of risky assumptions in and around corporate beverage operations space for many, many years, and nothing has changed in at least 20 years. So if we were to identify the riskiest assumptions, test them before a ton of professionals in the field, then maybe we can glean some data from the niche to hone in on the minimum viable asset to solve the problem. And I'm here to report we are damn close. No operator wakes up on inventory day excited to count bottles. Manual counting and visual estimation are still common practice in the field of beverage operations, and they are inherent with inconsistencies and human error where a clipboard doesn't make it all the way to the keyboard. And people who are professionals in the field, they distrust this variance. They detect the process as being a drag on labor, and it erodes trust among anyone who's tasked to guess about cost of goods sold measures or metrics. And it's not just one bar, it's 20 bars. Maybe in one restaurant where there are 20 restaurants, all of them moving inventory at lightning speed in real time. And to have decision support in that circumstance where there are controllable conditions in the beverage operations field would be a dream. We talk to a lot of operators in the field from all walks in the practice of beverage operations. We did focus on corporate and or multi-unit operators with volume of beverage business, managing partners of chain restaurants and resort areas, known national brands to be franchises with local owners and operators, hotel and resort executive food and beverage, as well as corporate beverage directors and mom and pop established legacy restaurant operators. It wasn't as easy as just picking up the phone because, in part, these high level operations positions are anchored behind gatekeepers. So we focused on in person visits, people who know my people, and referrals to other locations within groups of hospitality operations. Now, here in the program, we started with 3 slides, and the path to customer discovery has morphed from just 3 slides with singular implementations of the smart pour concept into modular concepts combining hardware and software and extensions of the smart pour set of functions and capabilities. As with this slide, we started with just the Smart Pour Lite pour trainer, which is a spout that goes on the bottle that vibrates once each second the bottle is inverted, teaching muscle memory and institutionalizing the count. Maybe trying to teach natural bartending skills. Now, in cycle 2, we're asked to change it up a little bit, and so we did so by adding a software integration, a mobile app training, our mobile training app that we provided at the same price. Now, we learned a lot from this data, but I'll leave the results of that to be continued a little later here. This slide started out as just the Ops Halo Smart Pour system with the IoT network and the dashboard in the cloud. But again, in cycle 2, we're called upon to change it up. What else could provide data to challenge these incredible risky assumptions? So we combined the Smart Pour, the spout, with the Smart Shelf, which each in their own way solve the same problem, is to eliminate manual counting and guesswork on inventory days. Now, there's a lot of heat around this idea, and it's for a couple reasons, including assignment friction, but we'll talk about that here in a little while. But it's not particularly heat around just one, or I'm sorry, around both solutions together, as opposed to just one of the variable solutions uh, or the available solutions here. Now, in the third cycle, part two, we introduced this dashboard. This instruments the BevOps field. If you're looking carefully, you can see where there's a multi-unit function, multiple profit centers. We calculate on beer, on wine, and on liquor. And there are drill through reports where you can see, in terms of pour accuracy to a recipe, you can drill down and find out which of those vodkas are costing you the most money to pour on any particular day. Now, we tested this, and each time we did, the emotion really came out with people saying things like, this would be very important as a singular source of BevOps truth. And that conversation usually devolved into whether or not the system would be required in order to integrate with point of sale systems or to other information systems. But again, we're going to explore that more a little bit later on. So after 3 cycles of asking questions of corporate, independent, bar, restaurant, hotel, resort, franchise operators, the heat is clearly demonstrated in the data you see before you here. Now notice in the left margin where the data was collected on diverging combinations in the value proposition, just based on the way the cycles ran. So in the case in the topmost left column, in the training tech, we did collect data on just the SmartPour trainer, but we also collected data on the SmartPour trainer and the app. And so in order to normalize, we have aggregated data there that tells us a story. The same is true for the spout and shelf technology as well as the decision support function. But I think you can see here that each of the 3 aspects offer us opportunity and avenue, but I think you can see where training takes a decline in the scores, as well as any other technology that isn't on the spout technology. So it's not the idea to pivot on, it's the order of execution that I think emerges from this data. So we tested the risky assumptions. Is the inventory pain overestimated? Are we making a mountain of a molehill? Is training the best entry wedge into this marketplace? Does it allow us to develop less in order to maybe save for more? Is it expected that point of sale, for the purposes of product mix reporting and IT integration, is it expected that that needs to happen with this system? Well, we tested each of these assumptions, and we found that without question, by asking the right questions to get the right answers, the paid inventory is not in any way overstated. Even if we included the published research on the subject, what's available on the internet, all points lead to operator friction within the inventory process. In our study, the language is strong about Ops Halo Smart Suite and what it might offer the marketplace. We scored high on the smiley face scale, and people are not afraid of the cost on its face. Maybe not even a capital expenditure. We also thought that training would be the best way to enter the field for purposes of generating revenue, but operators rejected the price and generally kind of left us thinking, it's nice to have, but it's not a broken leg problem. We also had firm expectations that operators expect that Smart Suite would have to integrate with their existing point of sale systems, which are plentiful and growing in numbers every single day. Every bank has its own point of sale. Accounting systems, which are also prolific, as well as supplier websites that might be applicable for the unit. Our subjects are wary that maybe their IT departments can't execute an integration at the scale or magnitude, or maybe that doing so might misinform one of the other information systems for lack of clear data definitions. Scores were still smiley, but not as enthusiastic as other aspects of the value proposition. There are remaining risky assumptions. Can we prove 1 to 2% variance improvement? Under the risk factor, it's 9 of 10, and that's only because we're still in the prototype stage and don't have spouts to put into 2 to 3 multi-unit operations into 1 to 2 unit 1 to 2 stations to establish a baseline. In fact, that's kind of needs to be a known in each of these other remaining risky assumptions. Can we prove that plug and play will eliminate the assignment friction? I mentioned that earlier. So you have seen in operation at the airport a spout system where the spout goes on the bottle, and I tell the spout that this is Jack Daniels. So I have to assign the spout. I have to do some programming. If I take that spout out of that bottle of Jack and I put it into a bottle of Absolute, well, it doesn't know that it's not pouring Jack anymore, and it jacks the numbers. So one of the folks that I spoke to in this study who has 8 restaurants in his group, they boxed that system up and put it on the shelf to collect dust while they went ahead with their estimation, their visual estimation of bottles, you know, money left in bottles at the end of shifts. Can we shorten pilot cycles to 90 days or less than 90 days? I'm sure, but I'll know more once I have a prototype. And also the fourth one here, will multi-unit groups scale this deployment? Well, I mean, there are a lot of factors to consider. But at the very forefront of it, it must be a pre-commitment ROI pilot, right? So we agree on 3 measurable matrix or metrics. We define success thresholds. We put a 60-day review in on the calendar before we install it, and then we track, the time to their first insight, the time to when the operator wakes up and goes, "Ha ha," and the time to expansion discussion. So we can do that within 60 days. I don't think it's going to be 90. The other thing about the multi-unit scaling deployment is that once we have that pre-commitment ROI study, well, then they'll be more likely and more confident in effective usage of a smart pour with IoT and AI on the edge and dashboard in the cloud. From another viewpoint in the problem space, multi-unit beverage visibility, we've recognized some things that come from the data. One is that operators do roll up cost of goods sold, and the serious ones are doing it on a weekly level. So they feel the inventory pain every single Tuesday or every single Monday or whatever day that they do it. And that's a rolling target depending upon how many restaurants you have. I worked with a restaurant group who had 7 restaurants, and they picked up cost of goods sold for the kitchen and beverage on each day of the week, a Monday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday, and so on. Managing partners compile these reports manually, where they have to send these upline to their corporate overlords, right? Or to accounting at the very least. Some of them are more aggressive about it because if you're a franchisee and you own your own thing, well, corporate's not going to check you at Mellow Mushroom. But in this case, where if you owned 6 Mellow Mushrooms, you might be more serious about cost of goods reporting and how it's calculated. I think that our data shows that enterprise groups lack real-time cross-unit control, and That dashboard vision creates a lot of interest because it gives them what they haven't had with any system to date: first to market decision support in real time for BevOps. Initially, I thought it might be possible that a regulator might be the more important entrance into the industry, right? So my thought was, let's standardize the count by using muscle memory and teach each bartender a natural method. And then we'll make an app to go with it that asks all the other important training questions that might save a beverage operator money on, let's just say, liability insurance, when overpours or shrinkage exceed, tolerable levels. Nightclubs, casinos. But we tested this idea and the certification pass and the reporting, and it turns out that real inventory automation is more important and urgent as a pain than training. IT integration did become a factor, but the plug and play aspect of the smart pour system turns out it's non-negotiable. It is a must-have. The best value proposition I've come to this point in the program is that Ops Halo is available to help multi-unit hospitality operators eliminate inventory day and gain real-time beverage margin visibility with plug and play automation. These are the lanes. In the customer space, confidence level is high, 8 of 10. My audience is reachable, and they like to hear about these kind of innovations. In the problem space, confidence level is very high because we already know that companies, enterprises, are already investing time, money, and effort in order to solve this problem. And it sparks emotional reactions from all angles, both up and down the chain in the BevOps field. And in terms of solution confidence, we got a 7 of 10. We have clear points of differentiation. And I think that Ops Halo in its gestation will gain higher confidence levels in the solution space. The second best value proposition from our study is that Ops Halo will help hospitality groups standardize bartender training and reduce poor variance with smart training, hardware, and certification tools. In all three lanes, confidence is about 6 of 10. A lack of enthusiasm, but again, we're back to whether or not training is the wedge into this marketplace. I last challenged a big assumption when we looked at the training inconsistency as being the biggest pain. I anticipated we'd be solving a problem before shrinkage and poor inventory management techniques and operations. They liked the training idea, but it wasn't something that was urgent. Inventory automation triggered stronger reactions, and in the price tolerance, it doubled for inventory versus training. So if there's a pivot, or if we iterate, it's going to end up being inventory first as a strategy. Does Ops Halo need to pivot? No, not on the problem space. But we will pivot on entry positioning. We won't abandon this vision. We're just going to sequence execution. So moving forward, as we start getting into the other material, the ops of the 1 day program will present, we're going to position ourselves publicly as the beverage intelligence operating layer, and then we'll phase expansion. Start with the spout, and then with the shelf, and then with the dashboard, and then we'll follow that with the trainer as a smart suite of solutions. that's what I got for you guys. I hope you've enjoyed a little bit of what we got here. I'm going to conclude on that level right there.